Gen Zs are really in the center of our focus because these people are our future customers.
What if I told you $1 billion retail business could begin in an underground car park with just $10,000? Toufic Kreidieh did just that, all while gathering over 3 million followers on social media. As co-founder of discount retailer Brands for Less, he's making premium brands accessible across Europe, Middle East, and Southeast Asia. Join me as we explore how patience, perseverance, and an infectious smile help Toufic transform how millions shop.
Toufic, you've managed to build an amazing following of Gen Z young folks, all about sort of discount, fashion, off-price. How did you manage to do that? What's driving them to be so interested in what you're doing?
Thank you very much first for hosting me. Today the Gen Zs are really in the center of our focus because we consider that these people are our future customers. We are disruptive in terms of retail. And it's a treasure hunt experience that you have to go and engage in this experience for you to understand what is the concept and for you to keep on buying. It's not a regular retail store.
And you've built like an incredible following on TikTok and social media. What led to that explosion?
It was, to be very frank with you, it was a coincidence. Someone that I know, his name is Mahdi, he came to me, he said, listen, your character shoots social media, let's go on social media. And I was objecting at the beginning. I said,
That's the kind of guy.
It's not my age, because he said, I want to start with TikTok. And for me, TikTok was a platform where I used to see my kids doing the dancing and the singing. I said, no, we can go and give different type of content. So I went, I posted the first post, and all what I've said is I introduced my name and what I do. Next day, 400,000 views on the first post.
What?
400,000.
What? Why? How?
I don't know. I think I was one of the first people who are business people who went on such platforms and started giving messages to the young people.
So how long ago was this?
I think it's around like 3 years.
3 years ago?
Yeah.
Wow. And so 400,000 views from the first...
From the first one.
And then what did you learn about, as you've been engaging with the Gen Z on TikTok, about what kinds of things, let's say, surprised you in terms of a number of interactions, interest by doing this?
The most thing that really surprised me and shocked me, and I'm so grateful for that, was the amount of love that I have received from all the people. Today, I have roughly around 3.5 million followers.
Wow.
Never ever received one negative comment from anyone. It's on the contrary, I go regularly visit the stores and I see all the young kids standing there waiting for me to come. They want to film with me. They want me to ask them riddles and engagement.
Now, the story is incredible, Toufic. I mean, you started with basically nothing 25 plus years ago and recently sold 35% of the company to TJX. And that's an incredible achievement.
Thank you so much.
And now there's this kind of bridge for, it seems like this behemoth from the West is looking to the Middle East. Tell us more about what you think the potential is for this connectivity between the regions.
We consider that the perfect connection took place between us and TJ. TJ is one of the largest companies in the world. It's Fortune 100. And today, TJX is the leader of the off-price business. They started the off-price business worldwide back in the 70s. And for us, it's a great act of recognition that they recognized that we are the people who are doing the off-price channel right in this part of the world. We were lucky enough to introduce this type of business to the Middle East. And at the beginning, it was very difficult. It was uphill battle. We didn't have capital. The communication channels with the customers were extremely, extremely limited. We had to depend largely on word of mouth.
I see a lot of companies that are, from the region, expanding through the region. And I think not just from a, discount off price sector, but you do rarely see such a large company from the US or from Europe acquiring an entity here, right? And I think that, the way that happened and that you were able to convince them and that they sought you out is an incredible story. Love to hear about, let's say now post-acquisition. I'm sure there was a lot of talk about how, one can learn from the other. What's the top thing that you've learned or benefited from that interaction?
We benefit on many scales. First of all, it's good to go into partnership with people who share your values. And us and TJ, we really share a lot of values together. And we work together into enhancing the treasure hunt experience, them in their part of the world, and us as pioneers in the business, or in the off-price business in this part of the world. So our focus now and in the future is to cement our presence in the GC area. We have our presence in all the GC countries. Lately, we started going to the southeast of Asia. We started with Singapore. In March next month, we're going to open the first 3 stores in Malaysia, and we're going to continue cementing our business. So we are going east, TJ is focusing west, and I think the combination is unbelievable.
It's an amazing connection.
Yeah.
What are you teaching TJ about this part of the world?
At the end of the day, there is always some type of localization that any business has to go through when you are entering a new country. Even us going to new countries, even within the GC, and later on going global towards Southeast Asia, there is always a story that you have to learn from the locals. Building local networks, trying to identify the needs of the market where you are targeting. Lots of things can be learned, because today data, as they say, is the new oil. And the data that is gathered in different countries will yield different results, whereby you will try to, as much as possible, to cater your product to the customers that are in that area.
And so what is the data saying about the Gulf, for instance, as it relates to your sector relative to maybe the United States or other markets? What's different here?
Everything is different. The shopping behavior is different. The liking of the people is different. Today, the brick and mortar is really still supported for a very high level in terms of the experience. People still like to go to the malls. People, yes, the digital world is really shaping up very largely in this part of the world, but still the going to the mall or going to the shopping at the brick and mortar is still a very important part of the cycle and the behavior of the customers. At the same time, different countries have different habits. They have different likings. The trends are different. Everything is different.
I know you've launched a website as well. You started as a physical store. What role does each play in the BFL experience?
Now, for off-price business, the brick and mortar will always remain to be the most important channel in the business, because the treasure hunt experience happening should be physical, or mainly to be physical. Of course, we try to replicate the same experience on the website. It's difficult to replicate it. People still like to go and touch the product because it's one piece. So we started our .com, brandsforless.com, 2017 maybe, or 2016. And, we had to go through the COVID period. And this COVID period really accelerated our efforts towards the online. We went and we bought a huge fulfillment center. We invested a lot in robotics.
Yeah, I read about the robotics investment.
Yes.
Interesting. Could you tell us more about the experience there?
Yes. So we invested a lot in robotics because of the idea of COVID, and how can we really keep the people safe while continuing serving the customers. And this is where the whole idea came. And we found it very productive, and we started implementing this to satisfy the needs of the brick and mortar stores also at the same time. So with time, you find your productivity is going up, and then the AI really helped a lot into figuring out what is the best way at the best cost to increase your efficiency. At the same time, this doesn't mean loss of jobs as people try to claim always. It's on the contrary. This will give you the chance to scale faster, which you will see in the big picture, you're hiring more people.
So how has, BFL used or leveraged AI?
Today, everything that we do in the, let's say, in the back end, in the warehouse, is AI empowered. The replenishment system, the logistics, everything is AI empowered, and it is executed mainly by robotics. And today, our efficiency after introducing these robotics went by 3.5x, and we were able really to scale our business faster. And that's why we opened in no time 44 stores in Saudi Arabia, and we are increasing the number of stores wherever we're going.
That's an incredible feat.
Yes.
Yeah, that's in terms of efficiency gains, fantastic.
And on all frontiers, even when you let's say you want to open a new location.
Yeah.
It's all about data, analyzing the data. And you have the AI who's analyzing your data in a faster manner, whereby it will give you directions.
Yep.
So today, if you know exactly, let's say, your online platform, where most of the orders are coming, and you will identify certain geographical locations and say, okay, I have a lot of customers in this area that are not covered. Let me go and open for them a brick and mortar.
So another side I'd love your take on, and I know that from Nemshi experience, one of the big challenges was actually on the buying side. So understanding, again, feeding in all the data on historical, but also then predicting, especially as you're growing. For instance, now you said that you're going to be expanding in a new geography like Malaysia, to predict what stock you should actually go for and buy. Are you currently using any AI or technology, and are you planning on doubling down?
We are using definitely.
How so?
A lot of AI into analyzing the shopping behavior of the customer. So on many levels, whereby accordingly we can do our sales forecast, and accordingly the whole company today, or our company by essence, it's a buying engine.
How do you get smart about taste and understanding, where to place bets? In the end, you kind of are almost like a venture investor in some way of taking some strategic bets.
Today, again, I always go back to AI. Our analysis is faster. Our analysis is more efficient because we taught the machine to read all the indicators and accordingly to assist our people into the planning phase for the coming season. So things that used to take days take now minutes, and we always keep our finger on the pulse. And I think today we have the way we are connected to the customers, the way we are connected to the needs and changing needs of the customers. We never had this privilege before.
And Toufiq, you started, Brands for Less back in '96, single physical outlets in Beirut.
In a car park.
In a car park.
Yes.
So the environment also, like in a place like Beirut in Lebanon, perhaps, sensitive in terms of, fashion, quality, these types of things. You were quite small. What did being born in that environment do for you?
Tell you, each and every market and each and every time has its pros and cons. The good thing is that when we started the business, Lebanon as a country was emerging from a civil war. So lots of representations of the brands did not exist in the country. At the same time, because of war and because of the Lebanese tradition of migrating, the diaspora that is all around the world gave them the accessibility in terms of the brand recognition. So we were in a market where there is brand recognition, but there is no brand availability.
So it's actually a good incubator.
Yes. At the same time, people are coming out of a war, so the income is something that they have to really count and think it over and over before they do their shopping. And we were there it was a niche business. Even when we came here, it's a niche business, whereby, we are offering something that is different, whereby you are paying a percentage or a fraction of the regular retail price, and you're enjoying 100% genuine branded product. At the same time, the lack, if you go back, what is considered to be one of the bad things was, of course, at that time there was no internet. At that time there was no social media. On the other hand, the Lebanese community is so close to each other, and everybody is a relative of the other cousin and etc. So the word of mouth was as powerful as the social media is today.
Take me back to when you first had that feeling that this was something that was actually going to work.
The minute you see people queuing at the cash register, you know this idea works. Once you have referrals, the first referral coming through the word of mouth, this is your first sign of success.
When was
This is
that?
how we used to measure success back in 1996.
This is even in 96. So you were as energized back then.
Yeah.
And then what have you taken and still embody to this day from the Beirut phase?
It's we always have kept our values to be the same. Ethics in business, honesty in business, patience was very important.
Let's talk about ethics and honesty, because I'm sure, this is a space where it's like, I got extra stock, ship you in a container, etc. I'm sure there's some shady characters that are playing in this space.
Always, everywhere.
So tell me about how have you been able to navigate that with ethics and honesty being at the top, and maybe a challenge that you've actually faced in that.
Today we were always buyers, and we continue to be buyers. So we were always the people who were paying the money. We always committed to the time of payment, the terms of payment, everything. So with time, people or suppliers started looking at us as
Dependable.
Exactly. Dependable, honest.
Yeah.
They do what they say what they do. So with time, this reputation, which is, I think, for any business starting, is the greatest asset that they should always cherish, is the honesty and the transparency.
That must have been hard to do in the beginning.
I think this is the basis of building any successful business. And we never wholesale. All our business was direct to customer.
Why is that important?
Because you focus, you do one thing, and I'm a big believer, me and my partner Yasser, we are big believers. Jack of all trades is master of none. We do retail, off-price, and that's the only thing that we do.
And then you're also not competing potentially with the people who are supplying you, right? So
Of course.
In this way, it's very clear. This isn't what I do.
Of course. And with time, people started figuring out that today, this business, the off-price business, is a big contributor to sustainability, because we create a new life cycle for the product. Before, the brands used to destroy the product, use them as landfills, damaging the environment. Today, we present ourselves as a sustainable vehicle, why I believe today the Gen Zs, they like the concept.
Yeah, let's talk about sustainability, because we know that, I think it's like for 40% of Gen Zs, according to some recent McKinsey research, are actually prioritizing and have, an interest in the sustainability, which is like double what their predecessors probably,
Of course.
And at the same time, there's currently some inflation and crunch and actually an interest in saving money. How do you square that? And how have you leveraged this interest within, to fuel your business?
It happened by coincidence that our business is a sustainable vehicle, to be very frank with you. And today, the people are more connected globally. People understand what's happening. At the time we were kids, we were Gen Zs. When we were the Gen Zs of
that age,
at that time, the world was not that much connected. We didn't know much about the environment. And, things were much better in terms of environment. With time, with the communication, with the flow of information that's going worldwide, people started looking more or examining more the behavior of these brands and looking what they are doing with the excess merchandise that...
Yeah, like what am I supporting, basically?
Exactly.
Well, how?
Am I going to support the destruction of merchandise, the using them as landfills, and all these plastics that are creating all this waste in our ocean, or we are going to be part of the solution? So they have decided to be part of the solution. They have decided to stick to their new values, which is sustainability, and it happened that we are in the right place.
And your customers, what's kind of the age demographics? Like, who's the main?
Now it's going down, and that's what we have seen, and that's what encouraged me. That thanks God we built business for the future.
And I think aligning with the interests of Gen Z and a younger population actually makes a big difference.
And remember, the Gen Zs are smart shoppers. Maybe me or you. We were less responsible when we were at the age of our kids.
Yeah.
But today we see our kids know they want to go, they want to compare prices, they want to make sure that they are not overpaying, because if they overpay, it means it's not a smart decision.
So they're weighing all of these different factors. You started, with just $10,000, right? And built this thing up organically over, a quarter of a century. I want to now just ask you to put your investor hat on, and that same $10,000.
Yeah.
Imagine you're just starting your career, and you're advising somebody to, what to do with the $10,000. What would you advise them to invest in, today if they had that kind of disposable money?
The most important thing, no matter what is the amount, and no matter what is the period of time, very important for the people, especially for the startups, people who are starting their own business, is to do anything that connects them and they are passionate about, and they can see themselves as part of the business. Today, when you are taking or you're creating this new baby, it's your baby. You should have emotions, you should have connectivity to this business, and you're going to live your lifetime with this baby. So I always tell them, don't only look into what is the highest return that I can get.
Interesting. And how is I want to ask you specifically on this point, because I hear you, but also, in the end, your baby you don't pick, right? You would learn to actually love your baby after it's born. To what extent were you actually in love with, this sector before you actually started it versus actually growing to love it as it grew?
Before you start the business, you have to look for the idea. And then you look for the idea.
Yeah.
First of all, you have to like the idea. Yes? Okay. And then you find yourself going and preparing feasibility studies, studying the market, studying competition here, there. With time, during the planning phase, you start getting connected to your
You start falling in love.
Exactly. It's like going to the doctor and checking on the baby before he was born.
Yes.
You get the connection before the baby is born. The love starts when the baby is born.
And the cash register line happens. Yes.
But trust me, it's not when the baby is born you start having this connectivity. Connectivity starts from day one.
Okay.
The minute the doctor tells you,
Pregnant.
okay.
So now that $10,000. So imagine we're, in a mode of trying. What do I do with it?
Whatever is the amount. Today, whatever an amount that will make you start an idea, even on a very, very small scale. My advice is the following. You have to be patient, because the problem with, Gen Zs are very smart and very creative and everything, but they don't have patience. So, and this is what I always try to advise my kids, is patience. There is nothing that happens overnight. Don't go for fast. And there are lots of people, and there are different theories in terms of scaling your business. People maybe would like to bring in investors. But the problem is, don't think of exit before you start your business. And lots of wrong messages are passed through the social media, telling these people that, exit, go in, preparing for an exit, which means you will never have passion to what you are doing, which reduces the percentage of success rate that you're going to have.
And any value to any potential buyer, right? Because then I'm sure when they're looking at somebody like a TJ is looking at a company here, they're sitting with you, they're sitting with Yasser, they're sitting with the team, and they see the passion, what you've built.
And by the way, even for investors looking to invest in small businesses or in startups, the first important thing is the character of the people that they are investing in.
Why is that?
Because it's either you have the passion to go through all the difficulties that you're going to face, or you're going to surrender. Are you a fighter or a person who will surrender? And this will change the whole decision.
Speaking of that journey, you think about this amazing, 25 plus year experience. Take us back to the hardest part.
Every period of our time, we had hard parts, not parts.
Give me one.
You name it. 2008, when the whole crisis took place, COVID,
mostly like external things.
Many external factors and internal factors. And the beginning, of course, it's financing. When you want to start, you have, what are your options here? What are your options? You want to start. Banks will not let
They won't loan you anything.
Either you keep your equity, preserve your equity, or you lose your equity from the beginning. We decided to preserve equity. And today I'm very thankful and grateful that me and my partner took the decision from the beginning. It will take longer time, but once you go and you partially exit, let's say, you will have a very good rewarding amount that you can really help or plan your future and succession, etc.
You played the long game.
Exactly. So I like the long game. My partner likes the long game. And this is how we played it.
Now, but starting with so little and actually building it up, what was the key to not actually needing to ask other people for money?
The key was simple. It's putting everything back into the business. It's retained earnings. No distribution, no vacations, no holidays, no travel. Depriving yourself from each and everything, this is the only way to do it.
Not as glamorous as it looks from the outside.
It's not glamorous at all at the beginning.
How long of that did you have to do?
For a very long time. Very long time.
Were you, you and your partner fully aligned on that from the entire...
100%.
That's incredible.
We always were aligned because we share the same values. And this is not a friendship that came out of a business. It's the opposite. It's a business that came out from a friendship.
How did you meet Yasser?
We met together in school. We were 10 years old. And since that day, we are best friends.
Your eyes are even glimmering. Yes.
He's the closest to my heart.
Yeah. I mean, that's the hardest thing, right? Is to actually, have a partner who, you can build and that you're aligned with. I know. How do you assess that?
Partnership between a company and a company is mutual values.
That's the foundation. Forget
and this is the first thing that was struck when we went into partnership with TJ. That we put our values and their values, and we found it's the same. So this is
everything else you'll get to, but basically
everything else is details, but you should have the same.
And how, for people who, this is resonating. Yes, I want that. And they didn't have a friend since the age of 10, like with Yasser. What's your recommendation on assessing this? How would you be able to tell if somebody whom I might be going into business with is kind of aligned?
I think you should be very open with each other. You should be real. You should be transparent, because you're gonna get stuck with this person for the rest of your life. And if you take the wrong decision at the beginning, this might kill the business every single day.
And it's usually it's like really in the hard times, right? Because the easy times, everybody's happy. But it's like when there's a squeeze or there's there's friction, or maybe there's a moment where, we can make a lot of money if we bent our rules a little bit.
Friction is very good. Friction should happen on a daily basis, because the friction will bring the best in you and the best in your partner. And one of you will convince the other. And you always keep on, trying to assist each other to keep on going.
Yeah, we always do this devil's advocate. Somebody needs to take the opposing position and then battle it out. Yes. And I think that's a healthy co-founder relationship. Now, as we look into the future, you have now an amazing partnership with a behemoth and obviously channel into some of the fastest growing markets in the world. What comes next? What are you excited about? What do you think is going to be changing in the retail landscape in this next 5 years?
I'm excited that the business that we really believed in from day one, which is the off-price, was the right business. We took the right path. And, we were so lucky to get in partnership with such a great partner like TJ, who we can learn a lot from. We keep learning from new markets. I keep learning from my employees, from my staff. I call them member of the family. We have others, family. As long as, again, I go back to the same one, values. As long as your values are intact, I think everything can be accomplished.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's a wonderful way to wrap up. Thanks so much for joining me here on Money Moves.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
What piece of advice from Toufiq resonated with you the most?